Welcome to the cave. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Yeah, exciting times, man. The listeners and the viewers attending this interview can see you as Tsar Alexander and Napoleon next to Joaquin Phoenix. But how exciting has this ride been for you? Because I've seen you all over social media talking about this and like
Yeah.
interviews and like, have you slept at all?
I got sick after the Europe tour. So
Oh,
we did it. Everything was good. And the day 3 hours before landing, my body just KO'd. So I've been in bed trying to sort of rearrange some scheduling stuff and just kind of getting ready for the next 2, 3 weeks. There's a lot more press we're doing. So it's getting busy, but the most luckiest guy in the world. I'm a little
there you go.
princess. I guess to be busy. How lucky is that?
Right, right. So yeah, we're gonna jump into the movie in a few minutes too. I want to know like what made you fall in love with the industry? What made you get into this? Was that always
Oh,
the goal, or did you go for something else at first and then it took you the other way?
yeah, I wanted to do. I was very late in knowing what I wanted to do. I thought basketball and sports. I was naturally athletic as a kid. Hopefully, still am. So that was the path I was going down. And then I watched this movie and I said, "Oh, that looks really interesting." Like I wanted that. I didn't realize it was acting, and nor did my parents. So I pitched it to them. They were very confused. I said, "I want to be Jack Sparrow," and they didn't get it. And then eventually they said, "Oh, okay, acting." And so it started slowly but surely. I had the opportunity of knowing someone who's kind of like my fairy godmother of Hollywood, who said, "I'll make you a glorified extra that has like a 2 hour work, but I'll invite
Hmm.
you for 7 days as like my grandkid pretty much to see a movie set." And from then on, I fell in love, and it just grew and grew, and I basically, yeah, I had the opportunity coming in 2019 to LA, very sort of strangely or unorthodox way of getting into a movie through going to a school, and it worked out, and that kind of led me down the ricochet path to eventually getting Napoleon. Yeah.
Hmm. Who's influenced you in the industry that you kind of look up to, try to model yourself, or try to, or even just study their work to make your craft better?
Actually, I've done this with a few actors. Joaquin's one of them. DiCaprio's one of them. Heath Ledger's one of them. But I basically what I've done is I've watched the first to last movie chronologically. It's very
Hmm.
interesting because
Yeah.
as a young person, the thing that I think everyone probably feels this. I don't know, but and when I see a lot of A-listers even saying this, Christian Bale said it just a year ago or something, and Joaquin said it on set. But you don't know what you're doing. Like a lot of the times, you can have all these ideas and research and experience or even a degree on it, but as soon as you get into it, it becomes very kind of everything disappears, and you're
Yeah.
not really sure of what to do. And so, point being is when you're watching these actors go from, like Leo, A Boy's Life or whatever, to you know, uh,
Yeah.
uh, Killers of the Flower Moon, pretty much. You watch that and you go, wow, okay, I can kind of see that when he was younger. I can see that he was more lost. And here, it's not that you don't just become the best, is that he's had 10 years of trying different things, and it
Mhm.
encourages you to try things. And that's what we did on this movie for sure. For the little part, that I got to be, it's a
Mhm.
lot of improv, a lot of playing. Yeah.
That's awesome. What's your ultimate goal? Do you have like an ultimate goal, dream role, or?
Yeah, I have a lot of them. Oh, first of
Mhm.
all, to be an actor for my life, that's a big goal. It's
Yeah.
whatever that percentage is. That's a slim percent, but that's sort of my dream. And I've said it in another sort of interview too. But there's a musician, a certain Kurt Cobain is appealing, and I've had
Mhm.
ideas about it and that I'd love to do, and no one's done that biopic yet. So call me.
Yeah. Or start writing the script yourself and go for it.
I almost did. I almost tried. Not that would be very readable, but
So yeah, let's jump into Napoleon. First of
yes.
all, like, what can
Did you
people
watch it,
expect?
by the way? Did
I
you
didn't get a
watch
chance
it?
to watch it. It hasn't been playing around here.
Oh,
I think it's just coming around here like this week or something.
oh, you're in for a
So,
treat.
like, I want to know, like, what can people expect from this film when they first tune in to watch this?
I don't know. I've seen it 3 times now. The first time doesn't count because it was a premiere with Ridley right behind me. So you're way too nervous. He's
Mhm.
intimidating, by the way. I love him, but he's intimidating. So it was hard to pay attention too much to the movie. But the movie, it's obviously epic, is what everyone's saying. It's surprisingly funny. It's very witty. It's fast paced, and it it's a biopic about a person and not about the history of an era.
Yeah.
all of that is naturally included in those letters, you know, Napoleon. But you really get to dive into one of what the movie showed, one of the primary aspects of that character, and all the little, you know, faults and problems that came along the way. And I happen to be one of those little vermins in there in his life that, you know, he betrayed me and I screwed him over, and that kind of led to, not to spoil the movie, but led
Right.
to one of the most sort of significant disasters in French history, war-wise, you know, military-wise. So
How were you approached for this role? Can you tell us about the audition?
yeah, it was three months probably the audition, and I had done House of Gucci with Sir Ridley, a very very small like cameo part,
Mm,
and so there were talks about that. Oh, there'll be a lot of roles for like young guys in the movie.
yeah.
Ironically, I'm the only guy under 40 in the movie, almost.
Wow.
You know, so I was very very lucky. I was filming a movie called Lost in Wonderland in Budapest when I was approached for Napoleon, and while we filmed that for 2 months, we did the audition for 3 months. And right before Christmas, they announced that I got it. And then
Wow.
I almost lost the role because the role got bigger because Joaquin rewrote the script. And so I kind of had to audition for it again while I had COVID in London, waiting to do rehearsals for the movie. So
Jeez.
like I could see them at rehearsals, and they were not asking me to audition. I think that was my panicking mind that thought that, but it was a journey for sure.
Hmm.
You had to fight your way to get to the glory here. Yeah.
So you booked the role. How does somebody prepare to play an emperor of Russia, pretty much?
Yeah.
How do
I
you
don't know,
prepare to play
man.
something like that?
Well, we have all those the kind of movie training, the horses and the languages and all that stuff, and the
Yeah.
movie doesn't show it yet, but hopefully Ridley's 10-hour director's cut, whatever it's going to be, is going to show that the Russian that we speak, and sort of more of that, the Tsar side. But um, a lot of it was research. A lot of it was trying to stay like, you know, cool minded, because it's Sir Ridley and Joaquin are two guys you don't want to, you know, cross with in a
Mm,
dark alley. Like they're intimidating, they're scary, and they're so good at what they do. You don't want to bother them. You don't want to get in the way of their work. So yeah, once we did all the research stuff, like I said before, it's kind of throw that out of the way. And what I mean, to sum it up, what really Sir Ridley pretty much said was, you know, when I first did my first scene with Joaquin, he said, "Don't let him upstage you. Just we'll cut to him. He's in Joaquin Phoenix, so hold your own ground. You know, good
mm,
luck, try." And so, you know, that's what they said I did, and that was sort of the challenge. So it was kind of trying to go at each other, trying to outplay each other, but
yeah.
trying to make it still realistic to try to stay alive in the movie. You
Mm. Did they give you any advice filming this?
know? No, not really. I mean, there isn't, you know, they're all so humble.
Mm,
Uh, Talking about, you know, Joaquin, Vanessa Kirby, who's just, you know, extraordinary. Hope she wins an Oscar for it. She's just so good. And Sir Ridley, they're such big people, but at the same time, they're so genuine. They're so giving. They're so kind. They really help out. And when you I think the thing that most people don't realize is especially when you're young, but when you just come to a set, and you're not an everyday, you haven't been there for the last 30 days, you know, you're not in the routine, you don't know everyone's first name, you don't know what happened yesterday, you don't know what mood
yeah.
people are going to be in, and you just walk in. It can be very intimidating because your natural instinct is like, okay, I got to show what I'm doing, but that's not, at least on my side, I got to calm myself down if I do that, because I want to be natural. You want to be as realistic as human as possible. You don't want to go out there and trying to, you know, save your last sort of
Right.
thing. So yeah, it's a lot of it was just trying to, you know, figure it out pretty much.
Mm. What did you love about this character?
It's so interesting because he's so naive. He's
Mm,
so young. I mean, think about it. He's like in his 20s, and
yeah.
you have all these people who are so much older, not only age, but like, you know, Napoleon, he was in a military school, and then he did this and this and
Yeah.
that at such young ages. And this guy's, you know, father was killed, and he was sort of said, okay, you're going to be the Tsar of this country. And he goes, what? And instead of panicking about it, he plays it like a sport, which is actually cruel and it's awful if you think about it. But he's so intrigued about politics, art, exploring the world, understanding why we're even doing this. And so it's sort of fascinating trying to get that excitement about the topic. And then we sort of switch time periods towards the end of the movie where he's more grown up, and he's had his sort of battle with Napoleon, and he's learned from his mistakes, and he has a very different approach to life. And that's where the politics in Russia sort of started swaying. Russia at the time started swaying him towards, a very bad side on his life. So it's interesting, those dynamics. The innocence is taken away from him, and I think you can see that a little bit.
Well, what's your thoughts about playing a real person, pretty much, of a history of a real person?
I think you always try to play a real person. I mean, that's at least what you're you're trying to do on screen. But in terms of, I get what you're saying, like a biopic, kind of I think it's fantastic. I think there's a lot of pressure because you don't want to mess it up. First, you go like, do I look like this guy? And when there's a painting of him so many years ago, you kind of go, I don't think anyone looks like this anymore.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. It's fun, and I think it's sort of the greatest pleasure because you have so much research to be able to dive into if that's what you're choosing.
What are you hoping people remember mostly about, like, your performance in this film?
I don't think they need to remember my performance. I just hope they enjoyed the movie.
Yeah.
It's for me at least. I'm not saying this. I don't want to sound off on this, but for me, the most important thing when I watch a movie is to not recognize whoever's on the screen, for the famous actors, and also to not overthink, not think of them as an actor or this or that. You just want to be taken by it, and if you do, then everyone played their part. You don't. If you remember their name, it's either because you love them so much or they did something wrong. So I don't care for that sort of game. I'd rather just people enjoy the movie.
That's awesome. What's been like your family's reaction seeing you on the film?
Oh, it's been great. Well, I'm half French, so my late grandmother visited her in the Champagne, it's like in the very Champagne district in France, very very old town, and I told her, oh, Mom, Granny, I had this movie, it's Napoleon. I was trying to, she didn't understand it, so I was trying to explain to her. She goes, oh, okay, is it good? Does our Napoleon, like, do they do him well? And I said, I hope. I didn't make the movie. I don't know. I'm not going to ask Sir Ridley that, But so French people can have a very strong, it can be their hero. And for a lot of people in the world, he was a tyrant. He was a very bad person. So it's sort of, you juggle left and right. It's opinionated. But my dad, he loved it. And most importantly, I think for them is they got to see their kid up there. So they were very proud. My little brother went to see it. My mom went to see it. And he was like, he's actually way too young to go and see it, but he brought his friends and he thought it was cool to see his brother up there. So it's like, those things you can't buy those things. Those things are just cherishable.
Right. Amazing. Edouard, what's next for you now? Any other projects you're allowed to tell us about that you have coming out or working on?
No, we have some stuff. We can't really talk about it just yet, but I have another movie coming out hopefully soon. It's that movie I shot in Budapest. It's a reimagining of Alice in Wonderland. It's really cool. It's very indie. It's very sort of gritty and street. And I played the Mad Hatter at that, so that's always fun. And yeah, hopefully there'll be an announcement soon for something, but can't say just yet.
Amazing. Lastly, how can the listeners and viewers find you on social media to keep up with you?
Just I don't know, Edward, my name, if they can spell it. They might need some Googling, but hey, hopefully we'll get there. When I saw Benedict Cumberbatch, I was like, okay, my name is just as difficult. It can happen.
Can't be any worse than my last name.
Oh well, no, that's a bit tricky.
There you go.
The two ends confuse people. That's when it gets complicated, isn't it?
Right. Dorado, this was great. Thank you for giving me a few minutes today, and good luck with the next few weeks also.
Thank you. No, thank you so much. Such a pleasure and such an honor. So thank you for taking the time.